Jeff Goodman from CBS Sports is one of the most respected voices on the college basketball scene, and tonight he joins us to discuss the problems going on in Louisville and Kentucky. Jeff, thanks for joining us today, man.
You got it, Jeff. How you doing?
Hey, we're doing pretty good. Now, although I must say the state of Kentucky's not in good spirits right now. It was a rough Tuesday night in these parts. First, Louisville went down for its second straight game. Then Kentucky followed that up by losing at Alabama. Wanted to ask you about both of those teams, but let's start off with the Cards. They had lost a tough game against Syracuse. I don't think anybody saw the Villanova loss coming. What's going on with Louisville? Do you think there's some problems, or is this just life in the Big East? And do you still like them as a Final Four and national championship threat come March?
I do. I mean, again, I'm sticking with them. I picked them at the beginning of the season, and I think they have all the pieces. But, there's a couple things. Obviously, they had control of that game against Syracuse for most of the game. It looked like they rattled Micah Carter-Williams early. You and I were there, and it looked like they were going to blow them out. And then they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit. And I think, again, they've got to make good decisions. Those guards especially, Russ Smith and Peyton Siva, they can look great for moments and then look terrible the next. And somehow Rick Pitino, without taking away their aggressiveness, has to get them to understand to still play, with time and situation in mind. And at the end of the game, again, I think part of it is, too, those guys are a little bit tired at the end of the game. So they're playing heavy minutes. They're guarding like no other backcourt in the country really gets after playing those minutes. So, again, I think Rick's got to pick his spots a little bit, try to give them a breather so that they are fresh when the game's on the line.
Georgetown's coming up this weekend. Georgetown's been kind of up and down this year. Greg Whittington's out. I know it's a big game for them. Do you expect Louisville, though? I mean, that's going to be a tough place to go and try and get on track. Do you expect them to go win up in D.C. this weekend?
I think they will. I mean, I think they'll get Georgetown. But, again, we thought they'd get Villanova, and look how that turned out. I was kind of surprised after the game against Syracuse, talking to Russ Smith, talking to Luke Hancock and a couple of their players. They didn't seem as upset as I thought they'd be. Here they had gotten that #1 tag, something that, again, I think they took a lot of pride in, and they gave that away, and I don't think they took it quite as hard. And I still think they almost feel like, hey, we lost that one, but we're still the best team in the country. And sometimes you got to go out and play with that edge all the time, and I think maybe they lost that for the Villanova game.
All right, let's move to the Cats a little bit. I think a lot of people just assumed, hey, this is a young team. John Calipari, he'll get these guys right at some point. But we're here in late January. They took another tough loss. Is it time to just start realizing maybe this team's just not that good?
Yeah, I mean, talent-wise, they're that good, I think. But, again, a lot of it's based on potential, and these guys haven't come nearly as quickly and weren't ready like that team was last year for multiple reasons. One, that team had some, semblance of leadership with Darius Miller. I'm not going to call Terrence Jones and Deron Lamb leaders, but they had a year of experience under their belt. The other thing I keep going back to here is, hey, Nerlens Noel's had an unbelievable season. We can all agree on that. But Ryan Harrow doesn't make those other guys better. He doesn't make life easier for Archie Goodwin, who needs it. He doesn't make life easier for Alex Poitras, who needs it as well, or even Nerlens in terms of getting lobs, getting the easy finishes around the bucket. These guys have to work for everything they have, and I don't think any of them are ready. I mean, Poitras, we know, isn't ready to be a star. Again, Goodwin's pressing too much, and, he looks out of sync quite a bit. Julius Mazur's a reason he ended up at Wright State University.
Right. And I know a lot of people think it's too early to be talking bubble, but do you think this team makes the tournament?
I do. Again, I do. I mean, I have a little bit of fun last night after them losing, poking the bear a little bit, I'll admit it, with the NIT or CBI.
Right.
But I do that with every program, to be honest. I mean, I said Texas, West Virginia was a battle for the CBI. But this Kentucky team, again, I think they're going to be on the bubble. I think they've got to get one of 3 wins, maybe 4. Ole Miss on the road coming up. Then you go at Florida. Then you got Missouri and Florida at home. I think you probably have to win 2 of those 4 to get in the NCAA tournament. And I do think they'll win 2 of those 4 ultimately.
I know you and Gary Parrish and the guys at CBS took some heat a couple weeks ago when you had Duke still ranked #1 when just both polls had Louisville in the #1 spot. There's been a lot of movement in the polls in the last couple weeks. A lot of teams have lost. How would you rank the top 5 right now if you turned in a poll? Who are your top 5 teams in the country?
It depends on how you want to define ranking. We do it based on what they've accomplished. If you want me to give you the top 5 teams of who I think are the best teams in the country still?
Yeah. Who right now? Who are the best teams in the 5 best teams in the country? And you're not, ignore body of work. Not necessarily looking at the big picture body of work, but who are the best teams right now? If the tournament started tomorrow, how would you rank 1 to 5 as who you think would win the national title?
I still, again, I know Louisville's lost 2 in a row, but I'm going to stick with them. I think they're going to be a number 1 seed or maybe the number 1 overall seed at the end of the day. But I think the Big East will get 2, Louisville and Syracuse now. I think the Big Ten might get 2 as well, which is scary that you could get 4 number 1 seeds from those 2 leagues. But I think Michigan right now has to be in the mix, maybe number 1 overall today. I think Louisville will catch them at some point here in the next month or so. Then I think really you got to put Syracuse in the equation at probably number 3 with what they did at Louisville on the road. Then Duke's got to be there at 4 if they get Ryan Kelly back, and that's a big if right now. I think he will be back in the next month or so. How healthy will he be from that foot injury? And then number 5, I don't know at this point. I might go Arizona, and I don't think they really have earned it. But again, they're out there in the Pac-12. They've beaten a couple good teams, certainly in Florida at home. But again, I'm not hitching my trailer to Arizona right now as a national title contender. Maybe Florida, but again, Arizona beat Florida at Arizona, so you got to have Arizona, and that's where it's hard to figure out with the rankings.
Right. Well, Jeff, thanks again for joining us. I understand you got a big weekend of games coming up. Enjoy, and we'll catch up with you soon.
You got it, Chip.